Today, we're looking at a purple ink by Iroshizuku Murasaki shikibu, or Japanese Beautyberry. As always, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. Also, there's a link to all of the purple inks reviewed here in a playlist down in the description. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, the first writing samples are always done on the same papers: Clairfontain, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. Let's take a look at the first one, 90 GSM Clairfontaine. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, some very nice shading. Look at Iroshizuku, darker to lighter to dark to light to dark to light to dark. Gorgeous. The extra fine is a little bit lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, some gorgeous shading. Brown goes dark to light to dark to light. Quick goes dark to light to dark. Lazy goes dark to light. 4 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine, with no feather spread, halo sheen, very nice shading. Brown going dark to light to dark. Fox going light to dark. 6 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show good color variation, and yet it's way better in the writing. The smear test says you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X 450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X 750 with an extra fine. Then a Pilot E95S with a medium nib was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. Now, let's take a look at the second standard paper, 52 GSM Tomoe River. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is a tad bit darker than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen. Spots of shading, like the is a bit darker than the words around it, and the Q and K and brick or quick are a bit darker, so there is some shading here. 7 seconds to dry. Medium is the darkest tone on the page, with no feather spread, halo sheen, moments of shade. Brown goes from dark to light. Quick goes dark to light to dark. 12 seconds to dry. The scrubby for the extra fine shows some color variation. There's spots. The medium shows none, and there's spots. It's nothing stand out here. The smear test says you likely could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. Did I say could? Well, yeah, it's better in person than it is on camera. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down, and then it's put into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And this is incredibly interesting because the very bottom of it, you see a really turquoise color. And it's pushing up, and we see a nice purple, but all the way at the top, you also see very much a pink tone. Now, the one on the right is let dry for 10 minutes before it's dunked in the water. And why that appears to be blue at the bottom is because so much of that turquoise is staying in place. You see some of the pink still over on the left side of it, but you see the purples over on the right. So I'm not looking at this really being a pink, purple, and turquoise. I really see this as a turquoise and pink, just two dyes that are mixed. And the purples that we're seeing are where both of them are on the filter paper. This is very interesting, but I'm kind of expecting that turquoise might be just a little bit of a holdout color. The last standard paper is 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no real shading. The extra fine is just a tad lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen. There's spots of shade. Brown goes dark to light. Quick goes dark to light to dark. The is very dark. 4 seconds to dry. Medium is just a tad darker than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen. Still gets shading. The E in the is much darker than the rest of the word. Quick goes dark to light to dark. Brown goes dark to light. 7 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show color variation left to right. Much more is shown in the extra fine, and the extra fine had much more. And a smear test, you could likely recover it if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on a page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it's handling itself fairly well, no real breakup. I feel confident using it in a note-taking situation if I need a highlight. Now, water did very much what we would have expected based on the chromatography. We really do see blue left behind, although I expected it to be a little more turquoise leaning, but we see the blue left behind. Pen flush is starting to break down much more of that ink, and the 1/3 bleach solution has completely obliterated it from the page, but it only takes water to get this out of my pen. For the next writing samples, the paper is changed up on a regular basis, and this time we're taking a look at TWSBI notebook paper. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. It does shade. Look at the Murasaki, goes darker to lighter to darker to light to dark. The extra fine is about the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, not too bad a shading. The is very dark, quick goes dark to light to dark, brown goes dark to light. Nice, 4 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine, with no feather spread, halo sheen, and very nice shading. Take a look at quick going dark to light to dark, brown going dark to light, and 7 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us good color variation left to right, which we do get. And a smear test, you could likely recover it if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average viscosity or flow was 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Iroshizuku's Murasaki shikibu, or Japanese Beautyberry, has a viscosity of 1.53, making this pretty wet. If you're interested in how the viscosity is tested or how the bell curve's made, take a look down in the description. You're going to see a link to that video. Right now, though, let's take a look at the this next writing sample, Moji paper. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, but it does shade. You'll look at shikibu, the end of it looks much darker than the beginning of it. The extra fine is about the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, decent shading, quick goes dark to light to dark. The is very dark as a word, much darker than the word over. 2 seconds to dry, that's it. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine, with no feather spread, halo sheen. Not too bad a shading as brown goes dark to light. Quick goes dark to light to dark, 4 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both do show some color variation, which we do get. And a smear test, you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Iroshizuku's Murasaki shikibu, or Japanese Beautyberry, has an average dry time of 7 seconds, making this a fast drying ink, faster than many fast dry inks. The last writing sample is done on crowd favorite 20-pound copy paper. Let's say it bleeds a little bit. That spot, and that spot did touch the page underneath. However, all of this and 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 this didn't touch the page underneath. I don't think you could use the back of the paper, but only 3 dots did come through and touch the next page, which, considering this paper's really not too bad. The medium has tiny feathering all over it, but not the type of feathering that would stop you from using it. It does spread to about a broad. No halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as that medium. It has tiny feathering all over it. Again, not the type of tiny feathering that would stop someone from using it. It does spread to about a fine or a medium with no halo sheen, no shade, and 1 second to dry. The scrubby shows no color variation, which we don't get, and the smear test, you could definitely recover it because you can't smear it. Instead of finding inks that look like Pilot Iroshizuku's Murasaki shikibu or Japanese Beautyberry, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. Believe it or not, that was all one take. I went for a nice pink, and that's because of the mixing in the chromatography here. I went with Rose Cyclamen from Herbin. If you'd prefer a different complement color, then down in the description are links to playlists you can take a look at. So what do I think of Iroshizuku's Murasaki shikibu or Japanese Beautyberry? I liked this enough that I immediately purchased a bottle and am almost a quarter of the way through it. I like it. The tone, the shading, I love this purple ink. So what nib and pen will give the best writing experience for this ink? Yes! Your pen will do it. Dealer's choice, because this ink always looks good. I hope you got something out of this video, and tomorrow we take a look at Lamy Black.